My dear friends, have you ever noticed? The moment you stop looking at what everyone else is doing, life suddenly becomes a little quieter, and in that quietness, you finally hear something very important, your own heart speaking. We spend so much of our precious time checking who is ahead of us, who is behind us, who is doing better, who is doing worse. But remember, a flower does not bloom by staring at the flower next to it. It blooms by receiving light within itself. Today, let us speak about something simple, yet deeply transformative. When you focus on yourself, everything changes. My dear friends, life has a very interesting way of teaching us lessons. Sometimes we try to fix everything around us, people, situations, relationships, even the world, but nothing seems to move. And then, one day, we discover a simple truth. The moment we start working on ourselves, everything around slowly begins to shift. It is almost as if life was waiting for us to look inward before it could change outward. We spend so much energy observing what others are doing, who is progressing faster, who is becoming more successful, who is getting more attention. But imagine a gardener who keeps staring at the flowers in his neighbor's garden while forgetting to water his own. His garden will naturally dry up, not because of lack of potential, but because of lack of focus. The same happens to us. Our attention goes everywhere except toward where it's most needed, ourselves. When you finally turn inward, the first gift you receive is clarity. The noise of comparison, judgment, and insecurity slowly fades. Suddenly, you're able to see what you truly want, what you value, and what direction your life should take. Instead of living by someone else's timeline, you discover your own rhythm. And trust me, nothing feels more peaceful than living in alignment with your inner truth. Another beautiful shift happens when you stop comparing yourself with others. Comparison is a thief that steals joy quietly. It tells you someone else's success means your failure, which is completely untrue. Each one of us is running a different marathon with different challenges and different strengths. When you focus on yourself, you realize the only real competition you have is with the person you were yesterday. As you begin this journey of self-focus, you develop inner strength, not the loud kind that needs to show off, but a silent, steady strength that helps you handle life with maturity. You begin noticing your weaknesses without shame, your mistakes without excuses, and your fears without running away. This honesty with yourself becomes your greatest power. Every small improvement, even if it's just becoming a little kinder, calmer, or more disciplined, adds up in ways you cannot imagine. And the beauty is, when you grow internally, your relationships begin to grow as well. People feel safer around you, they trust you more. You become someone who listens better, understands deeper, and reacts wiser. A peaceful mind creates peaceful connections. Slowly, life itself starts changing. Opportunities begin to appear. Calmness becomes your companion. Decisions become simpler. You feel lighter because you're no longer carrying the burden of constant comparison and external pressure. You start living, not performing. So if life feels confusing, overwhelming, or unfair right now, try one thing. Turn inward. Work on what you can control: your reactions, your habits, your attitude, your growth. When you change yourself, your reality begins to transform in the most unexpected ways. Remember, the world doesn't shape you nearly as much as you shape your own world. Focus on yourself and watch how everything changes. Friends, have you ever noticed how easy it is to get lost in other people's lives? Social media shows us snapshots of success, happiness, and perfection, and suddenly we feel inadequate. We start measuring ourselves against someone else's journey, comparing our chapter 1 with their chapter 20. But what if I told you that all this looking outside is exactly what keeps us stuck? The real transformation begins when you pause, breathe, and turn your focus inward. The moment you decide to work on yourself, everything else begins to change quietly and naturally. When you start focusing on yourself, the first thing you notice is a sense of clarity. It's like cleaning a dusty window suddenly. The view becomes bright, clear, and beautiful. You begin to see your own priorities, your own strengths, and even the areas that need gentle improvement. Life stops feeling like a chaotic race, and instead becomes a meaningful journey where each step matters. Clarity doesn't arrive from searching the outside world for answers. It comes from sitting with yourself, observing your thoughts, understanding your emotions, and choosing your actions deliberately. Another powerful effect of self-focus is freedom from comparison. Comparison is sneaky. It makes you believe that happiness is elsewhere, that someone else's success diminishes your own potential. But once you focus inward, you realize that the only person you truly need to compete with is yourself. How can you be better today than you were yesterday? How can you nurture patience, gratitude, and discipline in your own life? When you measure yourself against your own growth instead of someone else's achievements, life becomes lighter and joy becomes more accessible. Focusing on yourself also strengthens your inner resilience. Life will always have challenges, difficult people, unexpected situations, disappointments. But when you invest in building a calm mind and a strong character, these challenges stop overwhelming you. You begin to respond rather than react. You begin to see setbacks as lessons and failures as opportunities to grow. Each small habit you cultivate, each moment of self-awareness, adds invisible armor that protects you from unnecessary stress. The ripple effect of this inward focus is beautiful. Your relationships improve without you even trying. People feel your calm, your authenticity, your steadiness. Your family, friends, and colleagues start noticing a subtle difference. You are more patient, more understanding, more present. It's proof that inner transformation silently radiates outward. Life begins to align in unexpected ways when you work on yourself first. Opportunities that once seemed elusive appear naturally. Your mind becomes your ally instead of your critic. Your days feel fuller, not busier, and gradually you realize that the world hasn't changed, you have. By nurturing your mind, heart, and habits, you create a life that flows with ease and purpose. So, if you wish to change your life, the answer is simple: focus on yourself. Invest in your growth, cultivate your inner peace, and watch how your world transforms. Because the truth is, when you become the best version of yourself, everything around you begins to reflect that change. Life often has a way of showing us that the answers we are looking for are not outside, but within. We spend so much time looking at other people's lives, their successes, their failures, their possessions, and their choices, thinking that if we copy them or compete with them, we will find happiness. But real transformation begins only when we start paying attention to ourselves. It is not about being selfish or ignoring others. It is about understanding that the quality of everything around us is a reflection of what is inside us. When we focus on ourselves, we gain clarity. Suddenly, the noise of the world becomes softer, and we are able to hear the gentle voice of our own heart. It tells us what matters, what doesn't, and what we truly desire. Often, we chase goals imposed on us by society or by comparison, thinking that those achievements will make us happy. But when we pause and look within, we realize that happiness is not something we find by looking at someone else's life. It is cultivated by nurturing our own thoughts, habits, and intentions. Another shift occurs when we stop comparing ourselves to others. Comparison is subtle and dangerous because it creates a constant feeling of inadequacy. We start believing that our achievements are never enough or that we are always behind. But the truth is, every person is on their own journey. Each of us has our own strengths, weaknesses, timing, and challenges. By focusing on our own growth, we compete only with ourselves, becoming a little better today than we were yesterday. That is where true progress begins. Inner growth also builds resilience. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and unexpected turns. When we focus on ourselves, we develop the ability to handle difficulties with calmness and wisdom. We learn to reflect instead of react, to understand instead of judge, and to forgive instead of harbor resentment. This quiet inner strength transforms not only the way we see the world, but also the way the world responds to us. Interestingly, when we improve ourselves, our relationships improve as well. A calm, grounded, and self-aware person naturally creates harmony in their surroundings. People are drawn to positivity, clarity, and kindness. When we stop projecting our frustrations and insecurities onto others, connections become deeper and more meaningful. Our actions, words, and even body language reflect the peace and growth that we cultivate within ourselves. Finally, focusing on ourselves makes life purposeful. It is easy to feel lost in the chaos of obligations, expectations, and comparisons. But when we work on our mindset, our values, and our habits, life begins to unfold in alignment with our true purpose. Opportunities appear, decisions become easier, and even challenges start to feel like lessons. In the end, the world outside only mirrors the world inside. By turning inward, by investing in self-awareness, self-discipline, and self-love, we create a ripple effect that touches every aspect of our life. The moment we focus on ourselves, everything changes, not because the world shifts overnight, but because we shift the way we experience it. It is a quiet, profound transformation that begins from within and eventually radiates outward. We often live our lives looking outward, trying to fix circumstances, change other people, or control situations that are simply beyond our reach. We wonder why life feels chaotic, or why happiness seems so distant. The secret, however, is much simpler than we imagine. True transformation begins the moment we start focusing on ourselves. Not in a selfish way, not to compare or compete, but to nurture the part of us that is quiet, thoughtful, and capable of growth. When we focus inward, the first change we notice is in our mind. The constant chatter of judgment, doubt, and worry begins to quiet down. We start to understand what truly matters to us and what we can let go of. Clarity emerges naturally. We begin to see our goals, our values, and our purpose with much more precision. Life doesn't become magically perfect, but it becomes manageable and meaningful because we are no longer living according to someone else's script. Comparison, in particular, is one of the greatest thieves of joy. When we focus on others, their success, their lifestyle, or even their happiness, we forget that each person is on a unique path. Life is not a competition with anyone else. It is a journey to be experienced in your own way, at your own pace. The moment we shift our energy toward becoming better than we were yesterday, rather than better than someone else, a quiet contentment begins to grow inside. Focusing on ourselves also strengthens resilience. Challenges will always come, but when we cultivate self-awareness, patience, and discipline, we are better equipped to handle them. We begin to respond to life rather than react to it. We notice our emotions, understand our triggers, and take responsibility for our actions. This inner strength is invisible to the outside world but deeply transformative. It shapes the way we experience every situation, making even hardships feel like opportunities for growth. Relationships also benefit profoundly when we focus on ourselves. A calm, self-aware person naturally inspires trust and warmth. When we are less reactive and more centered, we listen better, empathize more, and act with thoughtfulness. Our interactions stop being about control or judgment and start becoming genuine connections. People are drawn to sincerity and stability, And when we offer that, relationships flourish effortlessly. Finally, turning inward brings purpose. Life can feel overwhelming when we are pulled in multiple directions, distracted by opinions, and pressured by expectations. But when we focus on ourselves, our vision becomes clearer. We make decisions aligned with our values. We nurture habits that support our goals. Even small, consistent efforts compound over time, creating profound change in ways we cannot immediately see. The world outside may remain unpredictable, but when we work on ourselves, we create a world inside that is calm, disciplined, and joyful. This inner transformation inevitably radiates outward. Life begins to respond differently, not because circumstances have changed, but because we have changed the way we engage with them. When you focus on yourself, everything shifts. It is a quiet, powerful, and lasting change that begins within and touches every aspect of your life. We often live our lives chasing things outside of ourselves: success, approval, recognition, or material comforts, believing that happiness lies somewhere out there. And yet, most of the time, the very thing we are searching for is waiting quietly inside us. The moment we turn our attention inward, the world starts to look different. Life begins to feel lighter, decisions become easier, and even challenges seem manageable. Focusing on ourselves does not mean ignoring the world. It means understanding that the quality of our inner world shapes the quality of everything around us. When we focus on ourselves, we first notice the mind. The clutter of unnecessary thoughts, the anxiety of comparison, and the fear of judgment start to calm down. We begin to see clearly what we value, what we want, and what truly brings us peace. Without this clarity, life feels like walking in fog, where every step is uncertain. But when we nurture our inner clarity, we naturally start making choices that align with our purpose, not someone else's expectations. Comparison, in particular, is a subtle but persistent thief of joy. We often measure ourselves against others, forgetting that each journey is unique. One person's success does not diminish our potential. One person's path is not ours to follow. By focusing on ourselves, we shift from competing with the world to improving ourselves. Each day becomes an opportunity to grow a little, to become a better version of who we were yesterday. And this inner progress brings a quiet, enduring satisfaction that external achievements alone cannot provide. Self-focus also builds resilience. Life will always have uncertainties, setbacks, and challenges. When we pay attention to our own growth, we learn to respond to difficulties with patience, wisdom, and self-control. We notice our emotions, understand our triggers, and make conscious choices rather than reacting impulsively. This inner stability becomes a source of strength that carries us through turbulent times, making even the toughest moments opportunities for learning and growth. Interestingly, focusing on ourselves improves the way we relate to others. A person who is grounded, self-aware, and at peace inside naturally creates harmony in their surroundings. When we are less reactive and more centered, our conversations, actions, and even our body language communicate calmness and understanding. People are drawn to sincerity and authenticity, and relationships flourish effortlessly when we are in tune with ourselves. Finally, self-focus brings meaning to life. When we align our habits, choices, and intentions with our inner values, life begins to feel purposeful. We stop being driven by external pressures and start living by internal guidance. Small, consistent improvements compound over time, creating a transformation that touches every area of life: career, relationships, health, and personal growth. The truth is, the world outside will always be unpredictable. But the inner world you cultivate is entirely yours to shape. When you focus on yourself, when you invest in self-awareness, growth, and discipline, life begins to respond in ways you never imagined. Your perspective changes, your energy changes, and gradually, everything around you changes. It is a quiet, profound transformation that starts within, but eventually touches every aspect of your existence. Focus on yourself and watch your life blossom in ways you never thought possible. So today, I want to leave you with a simple thought. If you want a better life tomorrow, start becoming a better you today. Focus on your habits, focus on your character, focus on your purpose, focus on your growth. The world may not change immediately, but your world will, and once your world changes, everything else slowly aligns. Remember, the day you turn inward, the world outside turns in your favor. Thank you so much. May you grow, may you evolve, and may you shine beautifully, gracefully, and purposefully.